Good evening, everybody.
It's on the closet. So it should be.
Progress. Hello.
Hello.
Hi, Professor.
Hey, Beatrice.
Good evening.
Hey, Dimitri.
Professor, today I need to leave at 6 o'clock.
Sounds good.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, of course.
I will look at the Zoom to finish the class.
Perfect. Yeah, this is our last day with new stuff. Our last day with new stuff. Let's see. Dina's here. Hey, Dina, and Katie's here. Hey, Marina. Hey, Victor.
Hi,
Hung too. Hi, you guys. Hey, Victor.
Hi, Professor. Thank you for grading my assignments, my late assignments.
Yeah, I'm slowly, one step at a time. I'm getting there. I'm getting there.
Yes, I will try.
I'm almost caught up in this class. Not quite, but I'm almost caught up. I know next week and the week after will be crazy, but that's how it goes. That's how it goes.
Yes.
Hey, Alexandra.
Hi, Professor. Hi. I know your secret. Why?
You talked to Margaret.
What's yeah.
You know, do you know this idiom? There's an idiom here, Alexandra. Okay, almost every language will have a similar idiom, but maybe it's not the same idea. The idiom is when someone is saying something about you, right? If I'm talking to my sister about my brother or something, right? Or you are talking to Margaret about another professor, the idiom is, oh, were your ears burning? Were your ears burning, right? And
Yeah.
because Margaret, Professor Travis sent a very nice email to Patrick and I just saying, hey, Alexander was in office hours, and it was very short, but she just said that, you know, you had nice things to say about our ESL department and that Margaret wanted to share that with us. So that's how I know. That's how I know.
Yes, because it's this semester we are lucky because we have best of the best staff in this semester.
Margaret is wonderful. Margaret is wonderful. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, that's really
Margaret, I don't know.
Margaret is Professor Travis. Does anyone know Professor Travis?
No.
Travis.
If you take
Travis?
ESL 315, she's like the specialist for 315. She will teach 325 next semester, though, if people are looking for a 325 class. She's just another professor in the ESL department, and Alexandra is in her 315 class this semester. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And Alexandra was saying she had, she was enjoying this class and Professor Hogan's. Is it listening, Alexandra? Listening class?
Yes.
Yeah. And then Professor Travis emailed us saying, hey, I had a student who was happy. So that teachers just, whenever we hear nice things, we don't do this job for the money. You make much more money if you work at a bank or something. So when we have good, nice, when students say nice things about us, we like to share that, to say, oh, the students are happy,
Yeah, it's true. We are happy. We are lucky because we have best staff this semester.
Yes, but
I'm happy with you, Professor.
Yeah.
Thank you, Beatrice.
And
you will not teach him.
I want to say something. Our class, Margaret, Professor Travis says that Professor Jeff is have some favorite class.
Yeah. Oh shit! Say it.
And I hope it's our class.
It's true. I said to her when we were talking about the ESL Center, I said, I love this class. I love Grammar 310. I'm so happy with all your hard work. And again, I get to see how much you grow and change, right? I see how much better your sentences are. They're much better. So I hope that you feel, you get some perspective. You see how much work you have done. Because I'm very happy. So yes, I did say that. Here's Professor Travis. If anyone's looking for 315 reading and writing, she has 11 seats open in that class. So I'm supposed to be teaching this class, but I'm not going to teach it anymore.
But those classes are in the morning.
Yes, yeah, I know. Yeah.
I won't be able.
Do we have a 315 at night? Yes, one. Professor Harala. He's great too.
And it's on Zoom too. So can I just go and register before finish this class?
Yeah, well, I don't know. Every student will have a different time when they can register. But for most students can register now. I mean, we're getting, it's May now. So yeah, you should be able to register. All you need is that class code, right? So Professor Harala, now one thing I will say, I have a lesson for tonight, but usually this is when we, this week is when we talk about the next semester. So we can talk about that, what class you should take. Do you want to take G320? Do you want to take a grammar, or excuse me, a reading and writing class? But remember, different teachers will do different style, different structure, different format. So I can't tell you, I don't know if Professor Harala will do one Zoom a week or two, or will he record the Zoom meeting? I don't know, right? Maybe you're taking other classes right now. Where everybody does it different, right? Everybody's trying to figure out the best way that works for them and their student. So I can tell you, Beatrice, yes, Professor Harala is a really good man. He's a good professor, and he is teaching that class. It says what? Monday, Wednesday, 6:30 to 8:30. But I don't know if that means 1 day a week, 2 days a week. Does he take attendance? Does he record the Zoom? I don't know.
Professor, if I'm going to take another lab class,
yeah,
is that too much? Because I work full time, and now I'm not working anymore from home.
No, well, now that I will be the ESL center coordinator,
Yeah,
I
you
think
got the position?
yeah, I did. Yeah. I think everyone should
Congratulations.
come to the lab, right? Come work with me. I think we're going to have some changes in the fall. It will take time to make changes, but really one part of my idea for the lab is more help and more support for higher level students like you guys. And I think we should do some homework help. So if people have questions with lessons or assignments, that we can be there to help you and support you. So even if you just take a half a unit, I think we can still find a way to make it helpful for you and useful for you. And I'll be there, right? So you can talk to me and we can make a plan or something like this. So
for
absolutely.
the summer, are you going to be there for the summer?
I am. Yeah, I am. I'll be there in the summer and in the fall.
So if I'm taking English lab 60, what is the next one? 61 or?
It doesn't. This is changing too, Beatrice. It really, or excuse me, Beatrice. Yeah, it is Beatrice. I saw your last name, Rodriguez. I was like, wait, did I say your name wrong? Sorry, Beatrice. Sorry.
No.
It doesn't really matter. 61 is probably best because now we have 60, 61, 70, 71, and even 80. So you're in 60 right now?
Yes.
61. Just do 61. Okay. Yeah, it doesn't really matter again, and it's changing. So.
But I understand that in the summer it's going to be a short time.
Yeah.
So maybe half a unit.
Half a unit. And,
okay.
You'll hear me say this, start with a half a unit. You can always do more. If you go fast and you want more, you can go up to 1 unit. It's harder to go down.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yep. Of course. So hi, who else came in? Shams is here and Jawed came in. And I think I said hi to everybody. Hey, Jawed.
Professor, I already enrolled in ESLG 25, something like that, under your name. I mean, so what's going to be happening with me? Because
I don't know.
I don't know. Am I supposed to take another professor, or should I?
You can
drop that or enroll in.
It's up to you.
Procedure.
Yeah, I don't either, because I just got this job 2 days ago. So they don't know who will teach a class. I don't know who will teach it. The class will happen that day and that time, but I don't know who will teach it. I don't know if there will be recorded Zoom meetings. I don't know if it's 1 day a week, 2 days a week. I don't know. I don't know.
So you don't know. It's getting a little bit complicated for me because right now I'm confused that should I leave that one and should I re-enroll in another class, or I don't know what to do.
Well, that's up to you, of course, right? But I think 20 wait list. So my class is full already. Margaret has 9 seats. Again, actually, it's same in the evening. The thing that I would suggest, I know Professor Travis only meets 1 day a week, right, Alexandra? Yeah, Professor Travis only has 1 Zoom a week. Professor Travis is Monday and Wednesday in the evening, 6:30 to 8:30. And she does have 9 open seats. So if you're worried about it, I would try and get one of those seats in her class, because I don't know who will teach this class that I'm scheduled for right now. I don't know.
Professor.
Yeah.
From class 310 goes to 325, or there is another?
That depends. Remember, so now we'll say grammar. Okay. So when you pass 310 grammar, you go to 320 grammar. But grammar is a little different than the reading and writing, right? So reading and writing, it ends with that 5. So reading and writing is 315, then 325. To go to 325, you need to pass 315.
Okay.
So did you take 315, Beatrice?
No, I only take 310 and the lab L60.
Perfect. Yeah. So and it's up to you, right? People don't need to take reading and writing. And how can I say this? You really need reading and writing if you want to go to university, right? If you just want to improve your skills.
Yes.
Yeah. So you don't need it, right? You can do it. It will help you, but you don't need it. For students who want an associate's degree from ARC, students who want to transfer to Sac State or to UC Davis, then transfer level English is really important. That English 300, right? English writing class. But that's, you know, the way that goes is 315, 325, and then transfer level English. So that's kind of the path. Like if Jawed already passed 315, I'm going to mute you, Jawed. If Jawed already passed 315, Alexandra is going to pass 315, then you continue to 325. And then after that is transfer level English, right? And that we could, you know, Margaret, Professor Travis will talk about that with you next semester, but you can actually, we have ESL 340, W340 in the ESL department, or you can do regular mainstream English with American students for your transfer level English. You have options at that time. But many people in G310 are in 315, right? That same level, but grammar over here, reading and writing over here. So that's kind of how it works together. And like I'd say to Jawed, if you are going to take 325 and you are in my class, but now you don't know what will happen because I won't teach it, try to get one of those 9 seats with Professor Travis. All the teachers are good, right?
Could you show me that again, sir? I will take a picture of that. So, or maybe those guys, they already they already were enrolled in your class. Maybe they will give that class to any other person, or
will.
what?
Yeah, someone else. That's what I was saying. Yes,
Yeah.
someone else will teach that class, but I don't know who it will be. I don't know if they will do 1 day a week Zoom or 2 days a week. I don't know if they will record the Zoom meeting. I don't know, but that class will still happen for sure. For sure.
It means they will give it to another professor.
Exactly.
Hopefully that's
and with respect, I say, it will almost certainly be a part-time faculty, not a full-time faculty like me or like Margaret, right? So again, I think there are amazing part-time faculty. I was part-time, you know, 4 years ago, but full-time professors are lucky, right? We only work at one school. We work in one community. So again, I highly recommend taking a class with Professor Travis. She's wonderful.
So if we do not change or do not choose another professor, so the time of the class would be the same because
totally the same.
so because we already scheduled something that we have to do that thing, and after that
totally the same.
Okay, that's fine. If I do not change, then in this case I will not be worried about the time.
Yep, totally the same. But again, I know it's different days, but remember Margaret's class, and now I'm not just Jawed, but if you need a class in the evening, her class is 6:30 to 8:35, but just Monday, Wednesday, right? My class was going to be Tuesday, Thursday. So her class is still in the evening, just for people to be aware of.
But this is for the fall, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, in the summer we only do the lab and then low level grammar stuff. Like we do a grammar 40 and a grammar 50. So yeah, we don't do a lot of classes in the summer. The real thing is the lab.
I'm going to be in the lab.
Come see me. I'll be there 4 days a week.
Yep.
Any other enrollment questions? Because for the grammar stuff is easy. I'll share my screen. If the class is already full, I don't know. Let's see. For grammar, if you want to keep going, you go see Professor Fertel in grammar 320. She's only got 2 seats open. But this is the only grammar class left for you guys, right? This is the highest grammar class we have at ARC. So if you pass this class, I think most people will, then you go to G320, 2 seats left. Maybe some of you are already in that class, I don't know, but that's what's next for grammar. Questions? Any other fall enrollment questions? Anything? These are good and important questions. I am happy to help.
Professor, 320 is only grammar. 315 is reading and writing.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Thank you.
Yep. The ones that end in 0 now are grammar and then listening, right? If it ends in a 5, that's reading and writing.
Hi, Professor.
Yes, hi Shamsia.
I was late, so I don't know the class are going to be in campus or online for the fall.
Both. Some will be online and some will be on campus. This
Is
class,
there a condition?
G3, no, they're scheduled. Some are scheduled for online and some are scheduled, excuse me, for on
That's
campus.
okay.
Professor
Okay.
Fertel's G320 is fully online. That means nothing on campus, right? Nothing
Right.
on
That's
campus.
good. That's good. Okay. Thank you so much, sir.
Yep. Yep. Anybody else? If you do want to come back to campus like me, if you miss human beings, you can see me in the ESL Center. I'll be there in the fall.
If they have opportunity for the kids to bring the kids with us,
They
then
will.
we will.
They will.
They will?
Yeah. The
Oh, that's
child, I
good.
think the child care center is going to be open in the summer as well.
Yeah, they said, but then we have to pay for that.
Well, yeah, I don't know about
That's
that.
why.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I understand. For many people that online is very convenient. I understand. I think there's some good things about online, but after 2 years, I'm ready for humans. Cool. Anybody else before we talk about grammar a little bit? Not too much. We don't have to go too crazy. It's week 15, you know, but I do have some stuff to teach you today.
Professor, can you tell us about lab in campus? What is it? How it works?
It's going to be changing, Marina. That's my job to figure that out, right? I think in the past, if people remember or took classes in the lab, they were paper workbooks, and people would sort of do grammar practice with paper workbooks. And then they had one speaking session every hour. But you know, that's really different now for people who are working in the lab. We have the Burlington English for people. We have the 3 different speaking sessions. And what will happen face to face in person, we'll find out. You know, again, in the ESL Center, we also have a computer lab. So one of my goals is if people want to come do Burlington English after class, right? Some people will come back. We have ESL classes on campus. So I hope some people will take ESL classes on campus and then come to the lab after that, work on their homework or work on the Burlington English. And we'll have in-person speaking sessions, but part of it, Marina, is just going to be how many students come back, right? Because that's a big question. We don't know. Now, the campus did make a big announcement about next spring. So now we're talking about January 2023, right? Way away, way in the future. But a lot of the rules that say we can teach fully online will go away next spring. So they are really going to try to make people come back January 2023. So that's spring 23. So spring 22, I don't know, Martina. It's going to be interesting. And for the lab, like I said, if you're taking only online classes, you definitely can take only online stuff in the lab. We're going to have a lot of online work in the lab, Burlington and speaking sessions, just like we have now, right? But what we're going to figure out is how many people want to come in person and how many people want, what do we do when people come? Definitely, you know me, I can talk about grammar, I can talk about reading and writing, I can talk about anything for a speaking session in the lab face to face. So I hope that I will get to have speaking sessions, right, in the lab, but it just depends how many people come back, and how many teachers want to come back. It's going to be really a big learning experience. We don't know. But like I said, even if you don't want to come back, you love online, you can still, take a half unit in the lab. There will be lots of online stuff, tons, many opportunities for the lab online. And the face-to-face on campus will be sort of like, here's another idiom I'm thinking of when I said to Alexandra, baby steps. Do you know this idiom? We are taking baby steps. it's again, like when a baby's learning to walk, it's kind of like very slow and you don't know what's going to happen. So people can say, we're going to walk with baby steps. We're going to figure it out. You know, we're going to kind of go slow, you know.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
Very interesting.
And again, I know many, again, please know, I do not want to be negative about online. I think there's great things, especially for people with families and jobs and parents. And of course, I understand. I think this is a great online class, I hope, inshallah, you know. But I think that we can have good, great on-campus stuff too, you know. So.
Professor, in one of our class, I mentioned that so I really like to be in the like in ground, like a face-to-face or in-person classes.
Yeah.
Specifically for language, because language it's so there is like different things like computer science or other things. It will be easy to learn that by like online, but language is like a more, and it should be like a really close interact, like a, because you know, professor, that in language, half of the language we understand by body language, by gesture, by different things. Although we can see that in the online, but in ground or face-to-face class will be more effective than the online. But in my one of my other class with I think that's our other class, and so most of our classmates were like disagree with me. I was thinking, oh my god, probably I'm not but I don't know, what do you think? But I think language should be learned, because when I'm listening to you, beside of that, when I'm in the class with my classmates, probably I will communicate with my classmates, and I will learn many things from my classmates, because we will share our ideas.
That's it. That's what's missing for me, and why I am tired of online is I feel like, now this is just my opinion, okay, but I feel like I really believe that in a classroom space with human beings, we create and share a kind of energy, right? We really, really do. Right. We give to each other, we listen to each other, we respond to each other. And one thing that's very difficult for me about teaching online is I feel like I have to bring all the energy myself, right? I'm like a YouTube star, you know, like I have to try to be, and I think that's why for me, online teaching is a little bit almost like more work, because in a classroom, I can say, hey, talk to someone, and then I can step away. But in this class, you guys know, there are some teachers who don't bring energy, and it's hard to pay attention. It's hard to focus. Maybe it's not interesting, right? So I think that's one thing. And then like Jawed, you said, body language, right? But really, it's only my body language, right? You don't know anything about your other classmates. I mean, you know, I'm just picking on people now, right? This is not bad, you guys, but like Beatrice doesn't know anything about Dimitri, and Katie doesn't know you. I mean, like, and that's fine. That's what online is. But I just think it's a different type of learning. And I think that language is, here's a vocab word that I'll put in the chat for you, and I'll give you the definition. Maybe you can look up the translation in your first language, because I don't know of an easier word to say this. Inherent. Okay, the inherent means the basic nature of something, right? Like belonging to the basic nature. It's like it's by definition, it's inherently, and I want to say language is inherently social, right? Language is inherently something that happens between human beings, you know. And so that's why, again, I think online learning is great, especially for higher level learners like you guys. But think of our students who are at the 30 or the 40 level. It's almost impossible to learn language on a computer screen, you know?
Right. But Professor, I take all class only online, 30, 40, 50, and then 30 level, 30, 10 level. all level I take only online. But if we have some good teacher, we have result. And little hard work students.
Yes, and I will say, remember, every student is different and every student has a different maybe motivation or different skills. It's different too. Like, can I ask Alexandra, only answer if you want to. Did you go to university in Ukraine?
No.
Did you go to high school?
Yeah.
Okay, so some students, and now this is just an example, I'm not just talking about this class, you guys, but in our ESL program, maybe some students didn't even go to high school in their first language, right? Maybe because of family or the school system or whatever. So everybody has a different experience about how to work. You know, I always say how to, here's a weird verb that I'm going to use, right? But how to do school. You know, not everybody knows how to do that. And I think that's a big part of it too. So if you have some experience with high school or university at home, I think that makes this online stuff much easier. If you don't have that experience, maybe you don't know how to do it, right? And I think the other thing, now I'm just talking a lot now, you guys, but the other thing I believe
that's
is
good. That's really useful, Professor.
Well,
We
I
learn
think,
a lot of things from you talking.
I hope so. I hope I'm not just.
Yeah, it's really good to be honest.
I'm not just going off, you know.
No, that's good.
I think the other thing for so many students, you know, if you want to, if you're here in California, you know, and you want to learn about California life, California culture, what are Americans like? What's California college like? Now, here's my strong belief. That is impossible to do online. You can only do it by coming to the campus. I know no one likes driving and gas is expensive and parking is not fun. I know, inconvenient. But when you get to the campus, then you're on campus. You see a bunch of people around you, right? Different people, different languages, different ages, different majors. And I strongly believe that's a part of what you're learning too, right? So it's not just that language that's inherently social, it's also kind of the culture stuff that's, to me, inherently social too. Now, again, I'll keep saying, I'm not saying bad things about online learning. People can learn amazing skills, right? I love to watch YouTube video. Like I'm not good at gardening, but I'm trying to learn a little bit because I'm so bad. So I think I can watch a YouTube video and learn and then go out, try, right? So I think you can learn stuff with online videos, but what you can learn skills, right? I could learn some gardening skill, but what I cannot learn is culture, is social skills, right? Is like how to talk to another gardener. I don't know, I don't know. So I just think it's two different, it's sort of different things, right? It's sort of different things. So yeah, that was a long answer to your question, Jawed.
Yeah, Professor. It was really useful. To be honest, sometimes I'm thinking that so when our class is over, and so I don't know, because you will have more classes, more students, more responsibility, and you will be so busy, Professor. And so, to be honest, I was thinking that could you share your email address or something in this case,
yeah, of course,
to give us an opportunity to bother you more, even when you're not your student.
Of course, and my dream, it's in the chat, it's on the homepage, but my dream is that come to the lab, right? I mean, my goal, one reason I wanted to take this job is to get to work with even more students. Now, I won't see you maybe for hours and hours every week, but at least I can talk to students, many students in our ESL program. And what my dream is, right? This was what I said in the job interview, is to really create something that only happens on campus, and that's community, right? A place where ESL students feel good and happy and comfortable and want to hang out and want to talk to each other and want to talk to other faculty, come talk to me, ask questions, get help about financial aid, whatever, right? I think I want to create like a place on campus where, like you're saying, Jawed, you're like, oh, I want to go say hi to Jeff, or I want to go say hi to my friend, or I want to go see another professor. Margaret works in the lab, you know, whatever.
Right.
And again,
Professor.
Yeah, please.
But the lab is only online, right?
In the summer, we're coming back. I mean, everybody's coming back next spring. So like I'm saying, 1 year from now, Beatrice, there will be online classes still, but we're there much, I'm losing my grammar, fewer, fewer.
But the classes in the lab, you had to be in the computer doing all those exercises and.
But that's only in the last 2 years. There was never any computer in the lab. 2 years ago, there was no computer.
So how was the lab in person and doing everything in person?
All the speaking was in person, which you can kind of imagine. But then we had paper workbooks and paper activities that people did. It was totally, totally different.
Oh, I got it. Okay, thank you.
And like I said, I hope that especially if a student is taking a class on campus, come to the lab, and then we have a computer lab we have a computer, like we have 30 computers in the ESL center, so that students can work on Burlington in the lab. And if they have a question, talk to a human being and get help with Burlington, right? So I think but this is what I was saying about baby steps, Beatrice, like what it's going to be when we come back. That's my job to figure out. I don't know yet.
Professor, that lab is in the location that they assess the student for financial aid or these things?
No, it's in the LRC. It's in the Learning Resource Center, LRC. Where you get tutoring. Let me show you. Yeah, it's here. It's one of the new buildings. This is the main. This is the main computer lab on campus, right? Yeah. But as you see here, there's all kinds of stuff in the lab. The Beacon Tutor Program, the big LRC Computer Lab, and the ESL Center. So there's lots of, look at this. There's student technology, reading across the disciplines, writing across the disciplines, and tutoring, right? So again, I feel like for me, one of my big jobs is I want to talk to the people, the coordinators for these other services, and learn about how to, work together to make this building, because this is literally, right? It's Learning Resource Center. It's a place where students go to get extra help, right? On classes and on their skills. So that's what it is. That's what this building is. And we're so lucky, you guys. Do we have a picture here? Let's see. I don't know if we do. This lab, you guys, I worked at 5 colleges before I got this job. I've never seen anything this new and nice as the ESL Center we have. It's so nice. It's definitely a good place to hang out. No, that's not it. I don't know if there's my picture. There's Allie there's Kat, there's Margaret. That's Professor Travis. No, I don't see a picture of it. Well, we'll have to fix that. Trust me when I say our lab is really beautiful. It's so big and so nice. There's such a great place, and we can really do cool stuff. So again, if you're interested in coming back to campus, you don't even have to do it next fall, right? Come back in the spring when there are many, many more classes on campus. Because again, this fall is going to kind of be the last semester where you can take any class you want online. That will change. So yeah. Anybody else? Should we talk about a little grammar? Yeah, okay.
Yes, Professor, let's start the class.
Like, I'm bored. I don't stop talking about the lab. Who cares, Jeff?
I care, and I'm going to enroll, but
you're in the
start
lab
the
and you're
class.
coming in the summer.
Yeah.
And I'll talk about this more next week, right? But it's fine because I don't have a bunch of, I want to talk a little bit more about passive voice. But here we are in week 15, Wednesday, May 5th. It is my nephew's 5th birthday. Happy birthday to my nephew, Sullivan. Here's the plan. I've got a short warm up with a final comma review for you. And then I've got passive voice. and maybe we just did the student Q&A. We'll say that we did that first, okay? But just I'll say this one more time, and you'll hear the final version of it next week. But remember, the final exam, I am going to introduce, explain, answer any questions about the final exam during our final Zoom meeting 1 week from today, Thursday, May 12th. The exam will open when our Zoom ends, and then you have until 8:45 on Monday, May 16th to submit the final exam. I will not accept any final exams submitted after 8:45 Monday, May 16th. And this is the final date for any lessons, any revisions, anything in this class. I'll make my face big when I say this. Monday, May 16th is the last day for you to submit anything for this class, okay? So if you still have time to revise, resubmit, finish lessons you didn't do, but that's it. On Tuesday, May 17th, I start grading, and I'm only grading what came in before that, okay? I hope this is very clear, but are there any questions about this? Comma review, short warm up, and then I'll teach you the 2 most important rules for the passive voice. Comma review, I've got 4 sentences, and I just want you to tell me where do they need a comma if they need a comma. Here's my 4 sentences, and then we'll go through one by one. Last night, by the time you called, I had already fallen asleep. According to my friend Lisa, there will be a big text next week, but she thinks it will be easy. To be honest, some people like to hunt and fish, but I have never enjoyed these activities. Without knowing what she will say, I think you should ask the professor for an extension because she might say yes. Let me do one thing here. Okay. Probably made it a little obvious, but last night, by the time you called, I had already fallen asleep. What do we think?
Last night.
Last night, comma.
Love it.
By
Yep.
the
Comma
time-
rule 1. Introductory element. Yes, I agree.
By the time you called, comma.
By the time you called, comma.
No,
Do we agree or disagree?
no,
Agree.
no comma, I think.
Shamsia says no. Let's find our subjects and verbs. Where's the subject?
I.
Yep, we've got one subject here. Yep. Where's this subject verb?
Fallen.
Excellent, I love it. Yeah, we could talk about the auxiliaries and the adverbs, right? But yeah, if I get one verb, I think, you know, here's the verb phrase, but here's the verb. And where's our other clause?
By the time you called.
That's our clause. What's the subject?
Same thing happened.
Last night, what are you talking? Oh.
Let's find the other subject and verb first, and then we can ask questions.
So your
Where's-
question on number 1, right? Yeah.
Where's the clause? Yeah, well, Alexander identified the clause by the time you called. Where's the subject and the verb in this clause?
You
Call is the verb, and by
Excellent.
the time, oh no, you.
There we go.
You object.
Subject.
The subject.
Perfect. You called, I fallen. Okay, now we've got 2 clauses. Now we know the next question is, do we have dependent, independent? What do we got?
First,
I had already fallen
independent. You called independent.
dependent.
I had already fallen independent, both.
Which one? Shamsi is saying both are independent.
By the time you call, is independent. I have already fallen
One
asleep.
subject, one verb is
No,
I'm
independent.
pleased with myself that this is hard for you guys. Let's do our test.
By the time you called, it's dependent because.
Is this a complete sentence? By the time you called, period. Can I say by the time you called, period?
No, it's not complete. It's
Exactly. So this first clause, dependent or independent?
dependent.
It definitely is. By the time is our sort of, let's call it our sort of subordinating phrase, I'd say. You know, we could argue about that, but this is our subordinator. Here's our dependent clause, independent clause, and our introductory element, right? So do we need this comma here? We have an we have a dependent clause before the independent clause. Do we need this comma?
No.
Shamsi is committed,
Independent.
but I have
By
bad
the
news,
time you call,
Shamsi.
I
By
had
the
already.
time you call, comma.
We do need it.
Yeah, we do.
Something, I'm just, remember, this is, we've talked about this rule 2 different ways, right? I talked about it when we talked about dependent and independent. If you start with the dependent clause, you need the comma, right? But this is comma rule 2 that we learned this last couple of weeks as well, right? It could be an introductory element. That introductory element might be a phrase last night, or it might even be a whole clause, right? But either way, if you've got a dependent clause before the independent clause, you need a comma there no matter what, right? So in this first example, we need the comma after last night, introductory element, and we need the comma after the dependent clause. So last night, by the time you called, I had already fallen asleep. In case anybody's thinking, we can say this. You can move the introductory element later in the clause, and then you don't need 2 commas, right? By the time you called last night, comma, I had already fallen asleep. So this is what we've been talking about, right? Comma rules are really hard because just like adverbs, you've got some freedom. You can move them, you can make choices, right? But I just want you to understand, if you put last night at the beginning of your sentence before the clause, you're gonna need a comma in the beginning, right? But if you put that phrase inside the clause, you only need the 1 comma. Right?
Yes.
Questions about this one?
No.
Cool. Anybody? Beatrice is good, but anybody questions?
Everybody's quiet.
I know. They're just like, you talk, Jeff. You put us to sleep talking about face-to-face teaching. Number 2, according to my friend Lisa, there will be a big test next week, but she thinks it will be easy.
According to my friend Lisa, there will
Lisa,
be a big
comma.
but
Before but.
according to my friend Lisa, comma,
Yeah.
Good. I heard Dimitri say the same thing. According to my
But-
friend
but-
Lisa, comma.
comma,
Next-
there will
next
be a
week.
big test
Big
next week.
comma.
Comma,
Week,
yeah,
comma.
before
Next,
but
yeah,
yes.
but she think it will be his.
I love it. So let's do the same thing. Where's our subjects and verbs?
My friend.
Lisa subject,
Thinks, comma.
test verb,
Thinks, comma. Because we have different clause, it will be easy.
Yeah, thinks is definitely the verb. What's the subject for thinks, Alexandra?
she,
Yep, Shamsi is with you. Dimitri is with you. Where's our next clause?
It will be easy.
it will be easy.
Will be.
It's subject,
Okay.
be, verb,
Good. We have another clause?
Yeah.
according to my friend. Be, there will be,
Yes,
be verb,
exactly. And what's the subject?
There.
Excellent.
there.
Excellent. Now, I heard people saying Lisa, Lisa, Lisa. Lisa is a noun. My friend is a noun phrase. But remember, is there a verb in this group of words?
No. You don't
No.
have a word, but
So it's not a clause. It's not a clause. It's not a clause. But exactly as you said, there will be a big test next week, comma, but she thinks, and again, here's that invisible that we've talked about so many times, right?
That is
But again-
optional to put it or not.
Exactly. We're not talking about types of sentences. This is compound complex sentence, right? I've got 2 independent clauses and a dependent clause, but that doesn't matter. I don't need a comma because here I've got the independent clause, right? That comes before the dependent clause, right? So we don't need a comma here. But she thinks It will be easy. According to my friend Lisa, introductory element, there will be a big test next week, comma, but fanboy, right, coordinating conjunction, she thinks it will be easy. Yep. So no comma needed. You guys got that one fast, right? Comma here, comma here. Questions about sentence 2?
No.
We're getting better. We're getting more comfortable, I feel like. People feeling more confident. Next one. To be honest, some people like to hunt and fish, but I have never enjoyed these activities.
To be honest, comma,
Haunted fish. Yeah. Haunted fish, but before
some people
but
like to hunt and fish, comma, yeah, but
I never
I
enjoyed
had,
it.
yeah,
That's it.
Yep. Yep.
yep, yep.
We've got Shamsia's got her tutor helping us too. Thank you so much. I love
Sorry.
it. Yep. To be honest, introductory element, again, noun, the subject noun phrase is some people, but people like to hunt and fish, infinitive, but I have never enjoyed these activities. Questions? We're getting fast now. Last one.
No questions.
Andale. Without knowing what she will say, I think you should ask the professor for an extension because she might say yes.
I don't know what she will say.
Say,
She will say,
So
comma.
comma.
Before, yeah.
I think you should ask
Ask the
for an
professor.
extension because she may
For
say
an
yes. That's it.
extension, because
Extension.
I think before, after because.
no, because before
No.
we
For
don't
Before
have
extension,
because.
because.
no,
It's
no.
not a
You
fun
need to say
boy
yes.
I heard it, Beatrice. Just tell us why no comma here, Beatrice.
because it's not a fun boy.
Exactly. This is a subordinator. And remember, if the independent clause comes before the dependent clause, we don't need the comma. We need it when we have two independent clauses joined by a fanboy, right? Absolutely,
Right.
that is correct. So that's why, again, I've said this many times this semester. Don't worry, you can't memorize every subordinator. But if you remember the fanboys, it will help you with your commas. It really will help you with your commas. And don't forget, we've got all these sneaky clauses, that embedded clauses, you know. Yes, so without knowing what she will say, we got what, four clauses in this sentence, yeah? Without knowing what she will say, comma, I think you should ask the professor for an extension because she might say yes. Excellent. Questions?
Yeah, you sure? I think you should. Yeah, a lot of subjects and verbs.
Definitely, right? Interesting sentences, right? I mean, I wrote them, so, you know, I'm just complimenting myself here, but, you know, yeah. But again, to me, these are normal sentences. These are totally normal American sentences. I'll put them so that you see them without all the color on this first slide when I save the PowerPoint. So here's the first one where it looks more normal and easy to read, and here's the second one with our correct answers.
Okay.
Good job, you guys. Any more comma questions? I feel like you guys are getting much more comfortable. The answers for that lesson 17 were very strong, very, very strong. All right, let's do our last little mini lesson. What we've got? Yeah, we got time. Passive voice. This starts on page 167, again in Language Power. So you can, if you have your books, you can go there. I'm not going to talk about every single example she has because there's a lot of detail and it will take too long. But again, if you have questions about passive voice after we talk about this, remember, this is tutorial 11 on page 167 that I'm going to show to you, okay? So she says uses and abuses of the passive voice. And the last thing I'll say before I show you my my summary of Professor Ferris's work is this chapter in the book is very focused on academic writing. So when you review this, or if you already did read it, she's very focused on essay writing. So Alexandra going to 325, Joed going to 325. This whole book will help you for every reading and writing class you ever have. But this chapter especially, she's really focused on sentences for an essay in school. So if you ever see a teacher say, oh, you have passive voice problems or something like this chapter is very helpful when you're thinking about essay writing as well, okay? But for just the grammar, right, the most important information, here's my explanation for the most important rules for the passive voice. We talked about this very briefly when Dimitri had a great question, right? Sentences, and then Beatrice's example, the meeting has been canceled. Sentences in the passive voice, what do? There's two main rules I'm going to show you tonight. They change the logical or the meaning subject. There's no perfect way to say this, but they change the logical subject of the sentence into the grammatical object. And here's what I mean by that. The dog chased the cat. Active voice, right? Normal. Dog is the subject, chased is the verb, cat is the object, right? I made a mistake there. The cat was chased by the dog. Well, here, chase is still the action, right? And when we think about logic or meaning, the dog is still the one chasing, right? The dog is still the one. When we think about, if you picture, close your eyes and imagine what's really happening, the dog is chasing, right? The dog is doing the action. But in the grammatical structure of the sentence, the cat is the subject and the dog is the object. This goes all the way back to what we talked about 3.5 months ago, that one of the most important rules in English, a never not true rule, subject, verb, object, right? Word order is very, very important. If there's a noun phrase that comes before the verb phrase, it's going to be the subject, even if the logical meaning is not the same, right? So as I say here, in both sentences, the dog is still the one chasing, but within the grammar of the subject, in the sentence, excuse me, within the grammar of the passive sentence, the cat is now the subject. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Beatrice says yes. Anybody else? I'll show you rule number 2 next. Okay. Logical subject becomes the object of the sentence. That's my very fast way to explain it, but that can sometimes be a weird idea for people. So if you have questions, we can talk about it. That's rule number 1. Rule number 2. So again, passive sentences in the passive voice. Here's the same rule, right? Change the logical or the meaning subject into the grammatical object. Rule number 2, you add an auxiliary be verb in the verb phrase. But here's what can be tricky for some people. Remember, the auxiliary may be changed to mark the tense and singular plural. So, for example, the cats are chased by the dogs. What verb tense do we have in this first sentence? What verb tense?
The
first verb tense.
Present.
Present, because are, but
yes.
Okay.
Exactly correct. Exactly correct. Are is in the present, and here we have the past participle, right?
Mm-hmm.
So cats, so here's that example, right? Where the auxiliary may be changed to mark the tense. Are is in the present tense. But look at the next one, Beatrice. The cats were chased by the dogs. What do we have now?
That's past.
Exactly correct. Now the auxiliary is in the past tense, right? Mm-hmm. And how about in this one? The cat was chased by the dog. What verb tense?
Past participle.
Past. This is still past, but why is it were up here and was here?
Singular.
Because that's plural and the other is
The
Exactly.
cat and the cats.
Exactly. Everybody's on it. Alexandra's on it, Beatrice is on it, and Shamsia's on it, right? We could say past singular, past plural. Exactly correct. I'll make this, I know red's usually our verb color, right? But exactly correct. And as so many of you have it, well, let's look at the next one. The cat will be chased by the dog. What tense do we have here?
Future.
Future tense
Exactly
and
correct.
past tense.
Now I've got future, the auxiliary will, which we love that. We know we love that, right? We're like, ooh, will, future. Yeah. And be is just in the base form. And same thing, chased is the PP in the past participle form, right?
Mhm.
Does that make sense?
Be, it's not verb, it's auxiliary.
Yes, this is still the chased in all of, thank you for that excellent question. In all of these sentences, the actual verb, the action in the sentence
Okay.
is still chased. Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. And so I've got, just again, I'm thinking about if people do download the slides, right? This is my summary. And here's what I want to show you in practice really quickly. And you get some practice with this in lesson 18. I think 5 or 6 people did it, but a lot of people still have time, right? But so here's my slide where I summarize these rules, right? Add an auxiliary be verb in the verb phrase. And remember, the auxiliary may be changed to mark tense and singular plural. But remember, rule number 1 is the most important. Just because there's a be verb does not mean it's an auxiliary. Sometimes the be verb is just the main verb in a verb phrase, right? And I think, I forget, maybe it was Jaled or someone else was saying, oh, the be verb is so hard because you're like, sometimes it's an auxiliary, sometimes it's the main verb, sometimes we use it in a passive voice construction. It can change for tense, it can change for singular and plural. It moves around a lot, right? It moves around a lot. So I've got some sentences to show you, and I want you to ask yourself first, well, as you see, let's just decide active or passive sentences. That's all we're gonna do first, okay? I'll read them and then we'll talk about them. This morning, I drank a glass of juice. The juice, the juice was made by my sister. The juice was delicious. Next week, I will make the juice by myself. So again, first question, active or passive for the first sentence? Active or passive?
Active.
This morning, I drank a glass of juice. Shamsia says active. What's my subject?
Pass.
I drank.
I drank.
And Beatrice is on it. What tense do we have here? Past.
Pass.
Past.
Good. I'm gonna just, I'll give individual answers for all of these. Active sentence, past tense, right? Simple past. Okay. Next one. Let's look at sentence number 2.
Passive voice.
The juice
The
was
juice
made
was
Passive.
made by my
Past
sister.
By myself. Passive.
Sister made.
Passive.
Wasn't
What's the
made.
subject?
past
What's
tense.
the
Was subject made.
grammatical subject?
the juice.
Good.
Was
Where's my verb?
made. Yeah.
Mm.
Made.
Made.
Excellent.
Was verb subject.
So is was a verb or is it an auxiliary?
Auxiliary.
Auxiliary.
Yes. And what tense do we have here?
Past.
Pass.
Past.
Okay. Yeah.
Exactly.
Pass.
Passive sentence, the juice was made by my sister. Passive sentence in the simple past tense. Absolutely correct. Absolutely correct. Let's look at sentence number 3. The juice was delicious.
Active.
Active.
No.
But what about was?
It was is passive.
Passive.
Pass. It's
Passive.
pass. Sorry,
The
pass.
juice was
What's the subject?
But
The
we don't
juice.
have
subject was.
verb in
The
Delicious.
juice.
in the
Say it. And what part? Say it again, Alexander. What part of speech is delicious?
It's
Noun?
adjective.
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 Yeah, delicious adjective.
Adjective. Oh yeah.
So do we have an object in this sentence? We do not.
No.
We have no object. This is not an auxiliary in the passive voice. This is just the verb.
Yeah.
Linking verb, just like we talked about 4 months ago, right? I am tall. Well, am is the verb and tall is an adjective that describes the subject. Active sentence, simple past
tense.
no object, right? Excellent.
Professor, active or passive? You
Active.
said it was. So... Okay.
Active. There's no auxiliary. I mean, right? There's no auxiliary in this sentence. There's no auxiliary, and there's. I'll add that to the list, right? No aux, no object. It cannot be passive, right? These two rules make it impossible. Right? You got to have an object and you got to have an auxiliary to be a passive voice sentence.
Okay, thank you.
Of course. Last sentence for this. These are the easy ones, you guys. I've got another slide here for the next one. Next week, I will make the juice by myself.
Active.
Future.
Future.
Where's our subject and where's our verb?
I.
Good. Yep. And where's the verb?
Make.
Yep. Do I have an object?
Juice.
Next week.
I do. I do have an object. I
The
do have an
juice.
object.
Oh, okay, the juice. I will make this juice.
But do I have an auxiliary be verb?
Will.
Well is auxiliary.
Will is an auxiliary, but is an auxiliary be?
Yes, in the future.
Don't think too hard. Is there a be verb there?
No.
No, modal auxiliary.
Yep, active sentence. This is an active sentence, simple future tense. That's it. So this is why my slide here. Remember, rule number 1 is the most important. You have to change the logical meaning from the logical subject to become the logical object, right? In this one, I do have an object, but the juice isn't doing action, right? I'm the one doing the action still. The grammatical subject, I, and the logical one, the meaning, right? Close your eyes. What's happening? Is juice walking over to the blender? No, I walk over to the blender, right? I put the orange in it. I make the juice. So here I have logical meaning subject and grammatical subject, the same. Active sentence, simple future tense.
Question, Professor.
Tell me.
Can we make or create a passive voice without by? I mean the by verb, like a.
Yes.
Yeah, that was a little bit complicated for me.
Yep.
Because sometimes I face with the passive voice without by.
There's a lot about that in the chapter in Language Power, Joed, LPT 11. So you can review that. And I have an example here, but the short answer is yes. I'm using by as we sort of practice the sort of what? Yeah. The introduction kind of.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
It make much clearer, but sometimes when that is not in the sentence, sometimes me
I've
or
got,
other probably
I've got
that
examples. We've got 15 minutes. We'll get it done.
I'm leaving, Professor. Bye, everybody.
Ciao, hasta luego.
Bye.
Professor, I have an example what
Ready.
I can't transfer.
Yeah, please.
Yeah, they guard the animals against the possibility of being killed by hunters.
They guarded?
They guard the animals against the possibility of being killed by hunters.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, being killed. But they guard the animals against the possibility of being killed by hunters. That's a tricky one.
Yes, we have to noun.
Yeah.
They.
I know what you're right though. I mean, I think there's a way to make this sounds like a real sentence from a book or something, or maybe your own writing, Dimitri, I don't know, but
yes.
the grammar's fine. The grammar's totally fine. What I'm not sure about is, and especially the way I've taught grammar this semester, is this a clause? The animals against the possibility of being killed by hunters. Is this a clause? I don't think so. Let me show you an easier example. And I've got 4 more to practice that are a little more difficult. I'd say one thing that's really obvious, just to make the clause structure more obvious for the way we've taught the class, right? Or the way we've talked about this. They guard because they, now here the they is talking about the animals, right? This pronoun goes back to animals and then might be killed by hunters. This one is definitely passive construction in this clause, right? Auxiliary be and then past participle. And this is a modal auxiliary here, right? Yeah. So again, I think again, your example is a passive construction that you have, Dimitri. I just want to make sure the one that I put in the example follows a more clear clause structure.
I mean, how can we transfer it to the active voice? Do we?
Oh, how to make that?
Yeah.
Because
Hunters killed, may kill.
Yep.
Okay.
We change
That'd be active.
object and subject.
Yep. They will guard. Some women will guard the animals because hunters might kill them.
For me, it's the most hardest thing to transfer it in active voice.
Good. We'll do that. We'll do that next. Let's do, just for time, let's look at the next ones. Active or passive? Active or passive in these sentences? An iPhone was dropped. It was my iPhone. The phone will be fine. It will be repaired next week. An iPhone was dropped. Active or passive?
Passive.
Passive.
Yes. Good. Absolutely, yes. It was my iPhone.
Passive.
Active.
My phone.
Where is past participant verb?
There it is. I'm messing with you guys on purpose. Yes, remember rule number 2, just because it's a be verb doesn't mean it's passive. You've got to have all the things, including an object and a main verb in the past participle. So this sentence is active. The phone will be fine.
Active.
Passive.
Active.
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 Fine, it's adjective.
It is. Fine is adjective. There's no object. The auxiliary here is not be. The auxiliary is the future will, right? But get ready, Vlad. You ready? It will be repaired next week.
Passive.
Passive.
Passive. Passive.
Now, this is like I was saying, remember, my rule is not there always must be an object. That makes it easy because here we don't really have a clear object, right? There's no object, but the way we could, I'm thinking of Dimitri's question, right? We could change this to an active sentence by saying someone or my friend will repair it next week. Now this would be active. But when I say it will be repaired, do we know who will repair it? We don't, right? The subject is unclear. We don't know who will be, right? The emphasis is on the action, not on who's going to do it, right? But again, in the grammatical structure of this sentence, you better believe English grammar rules tell you it is still the subject. There is still a subject in this sentence grammatically, right? But logically, meaning-wise, we don't know who will do the action. We don't know who will be repairing something. You guys with me? Questions? I want to show you some examples that she has in the book, and then we'll wrap it up. I've got lots of idioms today. Wrap it up means finish. This is on page, I want to look at these together. Because Dimitri was saying, okay, sometimes I'm not sure how to change active to passive. On page 178 here, Professor Ferris gives us these examples and they are wonderful. I thought we could just talk about them. And if you have questions, I'm just curious also, like, let's look at them. And my question is, which one looks better to you or feels more natural to you is my question. Let me zoom in. Number one, I did not intend, I didn't want to, right? Intend means I didn't try to. It was not what I wanted to do. I did not intend to cause any offense. No offense was intended. What's the subject in this 1A?
I.
Good. Exactly. Yes. And what's the object?
Object.
Yep. What's the object in
House.
Offensive.
1A? That's the verb. Well, cause is an infinitive. Intend is the verb. What's the object?
Offense.
Good. Offense. Offense. Yeah. Offense. You could look it up. Offense is like when you say something that people don't like. I'll put it in Persian first. And now in Ukrainian. Offense. I did not want to cause offense, right? An insult, kind of an insult. And where did my PDF go? And in the second one, no offense was intended. Notice in this example sentence, again, we were talking about subjects and objects. We've completely done away with I or me, right? I'm not talking about me. The focus is on the offense, right? So I didn't, no offense was intended is a way to take the subject, the logical subject, right? The one who created offense, the one who made the insult. We don't talk about that now. We just say, well, no offense was auxiliary be verb, intended the verb, right? Which one sounds better for you guys? Or what do you think about these two examples? Interesting, or what do you think?
B sounds.
Yes, B one is
You like
short.
B?
The short and the.
Good. And I know she left, but this is like Beatrice's meeting, right? This is kind of that feeling of the meeting was canceled, right? Or class was canceled. Something about that sometimes feels easier or more natural than saying, oh, the director had to cancel the meeting. The director canceled the meeting. My boss told me to cancel, whatever. The meeting was canceled. No offense was intended. An apology was made, right? Whatever. Good. Number two also gives us a more traditional example like we've been talking about. 2A, the strong wind blew the shingles off my roof. Or the shingles were blown off my roof by the strong wind. In 2A, where's my verb?
Blow.
Blue.
Good. Excellent. Excellent. I heard a few people say blue, right? And that means the subject is strong wind. It blew, and the object is the shingles, right? Now in 2B, again, we switch. We make the logical object the thing that was blown, the subject. The shingles were blown off my roof by the strong wind. Now here, which one feels better for you guys? they're both grammatically correct. I'm just curious which one feels more natural for you.
First, more natural.
Marina says first one. Again, my native speaker brain, I like the first one too. The focus is on what did it, right? What caused it, right? The shingles were blown off my roof. Okay, I mean, okay, fine. You want to emphasize the shingles, but again, if you're saying to A, you're going to emphasize the thing that caused it, right? The action, the subject, the logical subject, and the grammatical subject, the same, right? How about number 3? A burglar stole our television set. Where's the verb?
Stole.
Good. And the object? What was
Television.
stolen? Good. And the subject?
A burglar.
Excellent, right? And how about 3B? Our television set was stolen. Where's the, what's my question? Okay, let me say this, and this will be our last question. Our television set was stolen. If I say that, my television set was stolen, and again, you know how I hear this when I was younger and lived in a different city? If people had their car stolen, my car was stolen. If I say my car was stolen, do I know who stole the car? Right? And that's why for me, our television was stolen. My house was broken into. My car was stolen. When you don't know the logical subject, the person that did the action, for me, again, the passive voice feels really natural when that happens, right? And like I said a couple of weeks ago, I think, when you think about politicians who don't want to be, take the blame, mistakes were made. Who made them? We don't know. We don't need to talk about, who cares. Mistakes were made. Mistakes were made, right? So again, when we use that example, like Jawad was saying, what about where we don't have by, or maybe that was Dimitri, maybe both. Mistakes were made. I don't, on purpose, right? Specifically, I don't say by me. Mistakes were made. My car was stolen. By who? I don't know. So those type of statements where the logical subject is unclear are a really good example of when we don't use by, right? Okay, so you can do a longer review of those examples in Language Power Tutorial 11, if you like. I just want to show you real quick, and then I'll say goodbye for people who have not done it yet. Lesson 18 is where you get to practice this passive voice and active and passive voice. And there's 2 things I'll ask you to do, just like we did in this class tonight. I'll sort of show you a sentence and sort of test, okay, active or passive, ask yourself. And then you will get some practice, changing sentences back and forth from active to passive. So to share my screen here, right? Just real quick. Is the following sentence active or passive? Dentists are assisted by dental hygienists. Active or passive?
Passive.
Passive.
Yes, please say passive. Are, auxiliary are, assisted, we even have a by, right? So lots of these questions are just identify active or passive. And then this says, turn the following sentence into a passive sentence. The professor will give students a low grade if they use the passive voice. We can do this one together and then get out of here. So what's the logical subject? The professor. And the logical object is the students, right? How could we change this?
The students
Got it.
will.
The student will be given.
There it is.
Lower grade.
By who?
By professor.
If they what?
If they use the passive voice.
That's it. So there's only 5 of these. We just did one together. You'll have to think about it. It's good practice, right? But that's what we did, right? The students, auxiliary will, auxiliary be, and our main verb given. The students will be given a low grade by the professor if they use the passive voice. So that's what you're doing in questions 11 through 15. You practice taking an active sentence, make it passive. So that's what this lesson 18 is about, you guys. And that's it. That's all the grammar you have to learn this semester. Next week, like I said, I'll just talk about the final exam, the final activity, and then we'll finish up next week. So I am going to stop the recording just because we're at time, we're over, and I'll say goodbye. But if people do have questions, I'll stay and answer. But otherwise, I'll